So in this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different and take a look at a brand new hiking shoe that I've never worn before with some new technology, which is exciting because boot technology really hasn't changed that much in the last, I don't know, 15 years. This boot, or rather shoe, is the KEEN Flex. They sent it to me, asked me to make a video about my first impressions. So I'm going to whack these bad boys on, tie them up, take a little hike and tell you what I think. This is going to be a little nostalgic for me because I haven't worn a boot like this in a very long time. I think my first or maybe my second pair of hiking boots ever were from KEEN, and the reason why I got them was because I walked into a store in Australia called Mountain Designs, which I later worked at, and they said, well, you've got a big fat foot, and because you have a big fat foot you should be wearing a KEEN, because all of their lasts, or a lot of their shoes, are made on a wide last. If you've seen a few of my videos, you'll probably know two things. First, I'm really not a big fan of boots. I actively avoid wearing boots at all costs. And secondly, I'm a personal trainer, so I like to talk about anatomy and physiology in my videos. And in this case, we're going to be talking about the anatomy of the feet. And in particular, we're going to be talking about toe extension, or this movement, which obviously happens a lot when you're going uphill. Now, if you look closely at this boot, you'll see something new. That yellow part there is what KEEN are calling bellows flex. So this is something new to the hiking boot shoe world, so I thought it was worth talking about. So I guess the idea with this rubber section here that KEEN are going for is to not only reduce the amount of friction you get from boots when you're going uphill, but also to reduce the amount of wear and tear. This area here is a really common area where boots tend to fail after, 500 or 1,000 miles. So what KEEN have done, have tested this rubber to 1,000,000 times, I believe they did that toe extension under load during their testing. But that's all well and good in the lab. We're gonna test it now. Let's take a hike. So I was hoping to bring this video to you from a slightly more interesting location, but I haven't been able to leave the city for about 8 weeks. So this is about as good as it gets on the hills behind Barcelona without being able to go to the Pyrenees, unfortunately. It might be like that for a little while due to the C word that we shall not mention. So depending on what type of hiking footwear you usually use, you might find that this is a whole new world of movement for your foot. For me, because I usually wear trail runners, which are obviously very lightweight, I'm used to that amount of flexion. But it is really nice to have the combination of a really sturdy base and then also have what is quite a lightweight shoe that allows a lot of movement through that area. Time for the downhill test. I don't really anticipate any problems because these aren't a boot, they're a shoe, so there's no problem for the ankle to flex and extend fully. Should be absolutely fine. But this is about the most extreme terrain I can find on this little hill above Barcelona. Let's try out this rubber on some trickier type of terrain here. It's always a good sign when shoes can just kind of hang on to steep rock like this. Let's see how we go. Yeah, pretty good. There's still a little rock hopping here. I like to be able to move freely over this kind of terrain without too much restriction. So that's nice. I mean, to be fair, the amount of tread on these things is like a tractor, so I expected to be able to move around, pretty confidently like this. Well, they're pretty grippy. They got a 5mm tread on the bottom, which seems like, to me, relatively soft rubber, but also, that has its benefits. In terms of how long it will last, I'm going to do another follow-up video in about 6 months that'll get into some of the more, endurance aspects. KEEN shoes definitely have a distinct style. I think you can pick KEEN shoes from a mile away, and I think that's partly due to their focus being on function rather than fashion. Usually when you have a boot that is a little goofy looking, there's probably a good reason behind that design. part of having a wide shoe design that enables your toes to spread out widely and stabilize you as they're meant to do means that the shoe's not going to be quite as sleek and as sexy as other shoe varieties. So that's something that you might appreciate if you aren't necessarily in this hiking thing for the fashion, but if you're looking for a shoe that's going to be functional, very stable and good grip, then honestly this is a great shoe to start off with. Would I choose this shoe to go out and buy? For me personally, I wouldn't. The reason why is because oftentimes when I'm hiking, I'm actually running with a backpack on. So this shoe is going to restrict me from doing that. So personally, I wouldn't choose to wear this now doing the kind of hikes that I tend to do. That's why I choose to wear trail runners. However, the reason why I'm reviewing the shoes, not for me to get a free pair of shoes, is to show an example of a good beginner's hiking boot, or not even a beginner, but someone that needs that extra supportive base of a really nice wide shoe with a lot of support through the midfoot, something that's going to, you know, make you feel safe and secure when you're on uneven surfaces. And that's what probably 90% of people out there are looking for in hiking footwear. And at the same time, you probably don't want a big, heavy, fully supported, you know, leather boot that's going to take you 50 miles to wear in. One of the good things about this shoe is that you can put it on and go hiking straight away. There's no real wearing in process that you have to do with a shoe like this. For those that are looking to get into a little bit more serious hiking, carrying a little bit more in their backpack, then you're going to want to look for a shoe that has a wider base of support, you know, with some good grip and just the basic things that a good hiking shoe should have. While we're talking about features, I'll whip the shoe off and we'll have a closer look at it. Firstly, there is a heel lock here by the looks of it. So if you look closely, you'll notice that this taping locks the heel down. It looks like it pins underneath, under the heel of the shoe here, and it also connects here into the laces. So when you cinch the laces down, you've got a bit of a heel lock action, meaning that your heel is locked safely here in place where it should be at the back of the boot. The shoe is waterproof, at least up to around here. It has KEEN Dry, that's KEEN's own version of something like Gore-Tex. It's a waterproof, breathable membrane. So there's some of the features that stand out to me. Let's keep going and we'll dive into the specifics a little more. Some of this is kind of loose and sketchy, which is always a good testing ground. Oh. You know what these could be good for, what I might end up using them for, is an approach shoe. Because they're waterproof, they're light, they're stable, and I feel quite safe having, you know, 10, 12 kilos in the backpack and moving up and down this sort of stuff. So I think that's where I'll end up using them. That's if they ever let me out of the city. Found a cave, so at least if my YouTube career doesn't work out, I've got somewhere to stay. But one of the things I don't like about big, heavy, structured boots is that you lose that connection to the ground. I want to be able to feel when there's loose rock, something slippery under my foot, so that I can make a better decision. Because a lot of the time I'm moving over terrain like this, and you know, without a rope, for better or for worse, for speed, and so having that relationship, you know, between your feet and the ground is super important and not something I want to miss out on. So, on the more steeper, rockier terrain, one thing I really notice the difference between wearing trail runners and something like this. Even though this is a shoe, this is built on the base of a boot, you know what I mean? So it's really wide. To be honest, I quite like it. I like having that extra level of support. It's been so long since I've worn a shoe like this. The one thing that does concern me, and the reason why I've tended to shy away from footwear like this, is because it does tend to make your foot a little bit lazy. But as long as you're doing, you know, the strength training and the preparation to keep a really good, strong foot and a mobile ankle, you shouldn't have any problems. Some of you might have questions about barefoot style shoes, or for me in particular, why I chose not to wear a barefoot shoe when I did the GR11, and it simply comes down to the risk versus the reward. So yes, over the long term, I definitely want to be transitioning to doing most of my movement, including walking in a barefoot style of shoe. The risk just wasn't worth the reward for me, and my approach is, as always, is a long-term thing. So long-term, I want to be moving towards, you know, being 99% barefoot. There's always going to be those occasions when you'll need some more structure. You know, it's certainly nice to have the option for some more stability and some more support in a shoe on some occasions. So what's the verdict here with this shoe after an hour or so of being in the shoe? I think when it comes down to it, this is a wide, stable, very grippy, supportive shoe. And like I said, if you're new to hiking, or if you don't have really strong ankles and strong feet, and you want to get out and challenge yourself and go into some more unpredictable, you know, more extreme kind of environments, and you want a shoe that's going to support you do that, then I think this is a great shoe to do that with. The thing about the bellows and the toe flexion, yeah, it's cool. I like to see new technology in shoes for sure. Is it a complete game changer? For me, it's not, simply because of the style of shoe that I wear already allows for a lot of flexion like that. But if you've always worn rigid shoes and you're looking for something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble, but still has that good solid base, then maybe this is worth trying out. But I wanted to thank KEEN for trusting me to get this information out, and also just for making boots that are made on wide last. There's honestly very few hiking boots, at least that I'm aware of, that are made to be nice and wide and accommodating when it comes to the foot. If you are sick of your foot being trapped in one of these skinny, sleek European hiking boots, then I think that this is a good option for you to try out. Guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you learned something. Comments and questions, you know where to put them. I'll see you on the summit. It's a real hazy day out here. We have these days in Barcelona where we actually have the sand that blows across the Mediterranean from the Sahara, and it just covers the city in this thick orange haziness. It's kind of beautiful.